This week on Stay in the Truck, we're going to talk about the SEC East. So grab you a cold beverage and let's go. Welcome to Stay in the Truck, the ultimate podcast for sports enthusiasts and avid gamblers alike. Each week we'll provide you with invaluable insights, analysis, and tips to elevate your game. We can be found on all major podcast and social media outlets. See the show notes for details. Stick around to the end to hear this week's most boneheaded sports moments with our Stay in the Truck Awards. So let's jump right into this week's show. So tonight we're going to talk about the SEC East. The SEC last year had 6 teams that finished in the top 25. 3 of them were in the top 10. This year we got 6 teams ranked preseason top 25, and again, 3 of them in the top 10. Since the college football playoff era, SEC teams have won 6 of the 9 times for the Natty. Last year, they had 11 teams to make it to the bowl games with a whopping 6 out of 11 wins, so not stellar. So tonight we're going to finish up the SEC. We're going to talk about the Eastern Conference. If you have not tuned in, please check out our SEC West preview. It dropped today, so you can get the full picture of the SEC Conference. So we're going to start off with the Vanderbilt Commodore. We forgot to wish our boy Josh birthday. Happy birthday, Josh.
Happy birthday,
Happy
Josh.
birthday, Josh.
Oh, thank you, guys. It's great being 21 and having my first beer with you guys. It's been an excellent trip,
Oh boy.
really excited.
All right, Vanderbilt Commodores. Half a team with half a stadium.
Man.
What do you got?
Yeah, the end zone. Well, they got a mess up there, but yeah, this is a team that finished 5-7 last year, straight up, and 5-7 against the spread. They're 500-1 to win the SEC. They got their season win totals set at 3.5, juiced way to the over. We'll go straight to the head coach and Clark Lee. It's his 3rd year. He's a Vandy guy, but what he was able to pull off last year, he beat Kentucky and Florida last year. First, I mean, that is amazing for him.
Well, my God, they hadn't had any SEC wins in the previous 2 seasons.
Correct.
So instead of just squeaking by a medium SEC team, he just showed out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was great. Look, they beat Kentucky on the road, and Florida came up there to Nashville, and you know, they gave it to him pretty good. So, yeah, good for him. You know, hey, listen, let's just be honest, guys. They don't have a whole lot to work with, you know. But now I tell you, I've seen them whoop Auburn's ass on a regular occasion, several times. So you know, it can be done. They had Jay Cutler one year, so it's not like they can't get players.
Smoking Jay Cutler.
Yeah. So
At least they're in Nashville.
they are in Nashville.
They got the best city.
Man, it's awesome.
All right, guys, you're the worst team in the SEC, but you got the best city.
Yeah.
Just live off that.
Yeah.
Live on that high.
Yeah, when Franklin was there, they were rocking and rolling a little bit before he left for Penn State. So, I don't know. They used to beat us every 4 years,
Well, they got
it seems
Kirby
like.
his first year, didn't they?
I believe they did.
Yeah.
Yep. I
Yep.
think you're right there. Yep. It seemed like every 3 or 4 years they would come up and surprise us, or we'd go up there and they'd surprise us. They haven't had a winning season since 2013, and they've only had 3 winning seasons since 1982.
Yeah, well, they got 7 starters returning on the offense, but listen, the head honcho decided to pack his stuff up and go to Mississippi State, and the quarterback of Mike Wright. 974 yards, 12 touchdowns, 4 interceptions last year, and he was the team's 2nd leading rusher, and apparently he's tired of getting his head beat in. So
Is he going to start at Mississippi State?
no, he's not starting.
Well, that's not the only big loss they had. Their leading rusher, their only 1,000-yard rusher is now at Kentucky. So,
Big Ray Davis.
oh my goodness, Vandy.
Yeah, so, but look, A.J. Swan, the sophomore, is going to come in at quarterback. He had 10 interceptions last year. 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 3 for 1,200 yards, and he's
Big kid,
He's
strong
big kid.
arm,
Big
6'3",
kid, strong arm.
230
Yep.
pounds almost.
Yep. They're going to turn to a junior in Pat Smith and a sophomore in Chase Gillespie to try to take over for what Ray Davis is going to leave behind. And they got a freshman that they're excited about, and Cedric Alexander. We'll see how much playing time he ends up getting. And, you know, you look at the weapons that Swan's going to really have, and it's honestly, guys, it's not a lot.
It's not a
Yeah,
lot.
they do
Well,
have their
got-
4 top wideouts coming back, though, so I don't know.
It's not a lot. Not a lot of catches.
Yeah, I mean, they got Will Shepard, deep threat.
I mean,
He caught 60 passes for 776 yards and 9 scores last year. So
that's good for him.
Yeah,
You know.
you're getting close to 1,000 yards.
Yeah, the line's experience. You know, your seniors at the center spot, but after that, I mean, it's
The problem that they're going to have is that A.J. Swan is a pure pocket passer. And Mike Wright was a runner. He could run. He picked up yards, got first downs. A.J. Swan is going to be, if he doesn't have somebody to throw it to, he's done. So they're going to have to run the ball. If they can't run the ball to open up the passing lanes and bring people into the box, then they're in for a long day, which was what I predict early. They're going to be in for a lot of long days. I think this is going to be Vandy's worst year in quite a few. I hate to say it.
yeah. I mean,
I think 5 and 7 was almost twice as many wins as they might get this year.
yeah. I mean, you know, that was getting an Elon team and a Northern Illinois team last year that was not very good either.
Yeah.
You know, so that was a great year for them. But I'm like Chris, even on the defensive side of the ball, 8 starters returned, but that's from a defense that gave up 36.5 points a game, 458 yards a game,
How excited are
172
you?
rushing yards, 285 passing yards. I mean, it was just a terrible defense.
Finished 172nd in total defense and 124th in scoring defense.
Listen, the
yeah,
sky is bright.
22nd or 2nd?
122nd.
They were last in points allowed last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're done. Listen, 2022, Vanderbilt had the 45th ranked recruiting class in the nation.
Hey, that's not too bad.
Well, this year was the 69th, so they're on the way up.
Yeah.
Well, so the offense
poor
is
guys.
churning, the defense is churning, and they only made 7 of 12 field goals last year, so they got special teams cooking as well.
Gosh.
Listen, we're ragging on them, but
Vandy, stay in the truck.
but look, man. I mean, they're 18-point favorite over Hawaii. So
Nice.
How bad is Hawaii?
Well, but here's the thing, man. They're going to upset somebody. They do it every year. I don't know what game it's going to happen,
Wake Forest.
but it's going to happen.
They might get Wake Forest. I don't know after that though.
This year's upset might be their fans.
Yeah. So speaking of that, they've got they have invested $300 million to the football and basketball program. So maybe this is the bottom, and they're starting to work their way back up.
Yeah, once the stadium's done, and they can, a lot of this recruit, I mean, these kids come there and they look at that stadium torn down. Nashville, the city itself, can only do so much to bring those recruits in. So, but some of these kids, they want to have a good future outside of football, and Vandy's a phenomenal school.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, they can't recruit the same type of kids that
Right.
UGA's recruiting. I mean, it's just not going to happen. Even though, I mean, not knocking UGA's, standards, but I mean, or Auburn, either one, they're not recruiting the same kind of kids.
Hey,
Oh,
listen,
yeah,
I got
100%.
them coming out. I got them coming out possibly 3-1 or 4-0 to start the season,
That's it.
and then the wheels are falling off.
It's going downhill
Then
fast,
they're
man.
done.
Look,
Yeah,
that
I
trip to UNLV is going to be tough, okay? That's a night game out there. That's going to be a tough game. Barry Odom will have the defense. And UNLV, it does have some athletes. So that's not just going to – I got them as a 5.5-point favorite. But that it's going to be a tough game. Tough game. And look, that's off of back-to-back, going to Wake Forest. Then you got to go to UNLV. So, after that, though, I'm sorry. It's going to be –
I don't
Nasty.
have a W on my screen after that.
me neither.
I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think they take out Missouri. And that's going to be their SEC win for the year. They're going to have that one upset, and then the rest of the season they're toast.
I think if you look down to Saturday, October 14th, that might be the upset alert.
I'm not worried about that one. I thinking about. I thought you were going the same train
November
I
4th?
was. October 7th, Florida. I could possibly see that.
Hey,
one
they got
happening,
them
but-
last year. They
Yeah.
did get them last year.
Yeah,
So
they did.
I think the point is, though, there's going to be an SEC upset somewhere that Vanderbilt will pull off.
but look, Vegas has got them pegged at 3.5 wins. So
I got them at 3.
I couldn't bet over.
No, you can't bet the over. If they get lucky and beat Wake Forest,
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I got them 5 and 7 best, 3 and 9 at the worst.
I got them 4 and 8 best. At ceiling.
All right. Well, let's just rock right down to Columbia, Missouri, and check out the Missouri Tigers.
Yeah, Eli Drinkowitz. It'll be his 4th year. Coach Drink, formerly of App State. He was, I believe he worked with the quarterbacks at Auburn under Gus back in the glory days. They're 150 to 1 to win the conference, and their win total set at 6.5. Last year they were 6-7 on the year straight up, 7-6 against the spread. This is a team that's returning 7 starters on offense with a new offensive coordinator in Kirby Moore, who comes in from Fresno State.
Brother of Kellen Moore. Do you know that?
No.
Kirby. Kirby started out at Boise State.
Oh, did he?
Followed in his brother's footsteps, and his last year was actually his first year as an OC. He was he was a 1-year OC at Fresno State. They went 10-4, and he got the nod real quick. Somebody snatched him up.
Yeah, but he had Jake Hainer at QB over there too. So that's a lot. But he wants to be more explosive, no doubt about it. He wants to take deep shots. This Missouri offense last year was kind of dink and dunk, and let's see what we can get done. And they really didn't do a whole lot. Now they did have Georgia on the ropes there for a while. I think they were leading at halftime that night.
Oh yeah, we should have lost that game. Yeah,
like 10 points or something.
They're a physical football team.
Yeah, but the offense was very mediocre last year. 24 points a game, 150 yards rushing, and 205 yards passing. I mean, those are not great numbers. I mean, with numbers like that, you should finish 6-7. You might occasionally pull an upset, but I mean, they had Auburn beat too. Dude dropped a pass, just dropped it. I mean, we were done. So. But Brady Cook comes back as a junior to quarterback him, 2,700 yards, 14 touchdowns, but he's them 7 picks. And then the well-traveled Jake Garcia, the sophomore, is coming in from Miami. He's been all over the place. South Carolina. He was in one of those COVID years. He was all over the place.
So he's about 25.
Yeah, he's old. They do lose their top receiver from last year, and Dominic Lovick. He transfers out to UGA. Imagine that.
Smart move.
Jeez,
smart guy.
I mean, that's 56 catches last year, 850 yards and 3 touchdowns. He averaged 15.1 yards a catch.
That's pretty good.
I'd say he's pretty good.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Probably what led to some of those 7 interceptions, because it sounds like if he's averaging 15 yards a catch, that means they're having to throw the ball or they are throwing the ball downfield. Yeah. Which is usually leads to a few more interceptions. But
yeah. I mean, that O-line needs some work. There's no one in the SEC that allowed more tackles for loss last year. So, and
they got 3 seniors coming back on the line. They get a guy out of Eastern Michigan to come in and help out. You look at the running backs. Schaefer's a senior. Pete's a senior. So, but they got a 3-star freshman that they love in Jamil Roberts. He likes to contact, and he can flat out fly. So it'll be interesting to see if he can get in the mix. The receiving room is what it is. You got a tight end, you got a senior tight end that comes in there, and he'll help out as much as he can. But I still feel like their offense is going to be. I don't know how it's going to be much better than what it was last year.
Well, I think Burden's going to have to step up this year, especially with Lovett leaving for Georgia.
Well, they're going to put him back in the slot, so they expect Burden to have a real big year, and he's going to have to if they're going to score any points. But when they put him back in the slot, they think that's going to help out. So
yeah, the passing game has to be way more effective. They were 5-1 when throwing for more than 224 last year, and 1-6 when they didn't. So they're going to have to find a way to get the ball into the receiver's hands. And like you said, Brady Cook's going to have to drop back and find some receivers and make something happen out of nothing.
I look at that 5-1 though: Louisiana Tech, Abilene Christian, Vandy, South Carolina, New Mexico State, and then Arkansas. I mean, those are not.
No, and I think Kirby Moore's gonna bring that. His history is that Boise State conference. Would Kellen have more pass attempts than anybody in the country or something over
and
5
yards
years
too, and all that kind of stuff.
Doesn't he have the record for most wins ever as a starter? So his brother, anyway,
he played 8 years, but
he plays the same amount of years as Stetson before the COVID year. But I think that he'll slow the bring it back down. They'll be completing a lot more passes in that 5 to 7 yard range. Ball control, and but I think they're going to get a lot of opportunities because last year the defense was a pretty solid defense.
Great.
They did real good. They did a really good job against a bunch of SEC teams, and they're returning 8 starters.
Yeah, 7 seniors.
7 seniors. So after this year might be tough, but I think this defense is going to come out and make it real hard on a few folks.
Yeah. The one that they really like over there, the linebacker, Tyrone Hopper, 74 tackles and 3 sacks. He's the leader over there.
Yeah, and then you got Chad Bailey right beside him.
Yeah.
He had 57 tackles. He'll be back as well and making a lot of plays. And then their strength is really their secondary, though. I mean, they're loaded with veterans back there. They got a future NFL starter, Chris Abrams-Drain, who's a just complete wreaking havoc in the backfield. And then safeties Jalon Carlisle, Joseph Charleston are also both rock solid.
Free safety had 81 tackles, which is usually not what you want your free safety to have.
I had that highlighted under 81. So
81 tackles.
what
out
was
of your
going
free
on
safety.
in front of you, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I heard you guys mention something about that in the SEC West
If your
podcast.
safeties
About
are out tackling your linebacker, something ain't good.
something is awry.
So this schedule sets up very similar to Vanderbilt's. So they have like the first 4 games should be, pretty easy or winnable games for them. And then, first 5 games. And then all of a sudden they hit a wall.
Well, September 16th, game number 3, they got K-State. K-State is one of those teams that can come out and surprise a lot of people, which they don't really surprise people anymore because they've been on the map now for, 4 or 5 years in a row. They've actually been pretty solid.
But they're in rebuild, no doubt about it. Or I guess you call it rebuild over there. But,
I got them winning that game based on defense. I think their defense is going to be.
If they don't win that game,
then they're going to have a rough second half.
they're going to have it's going to be rough over
Right.
there.
I agree.
So, that could be all the momentum, or the wheels could start coming off. At 6.5, I lean to the over, but that means that I got them South Dakota, Middle Tennessee State, Kansas State, Memphis, and Vandy. That's 5. I got them starting 5-0.
I do too, as well.
And then I'm hoping they can either get.
And then I got them dropping the next 5.
Yeah, I hope
Or 6.
they can either get South Carolina or Florida is what I would be hoping for. But they'll have to get 2 of those to get 7 wins.
I've got my if games at South Carolina and Florida. I've got them 6-6 if they lose both of those games, but I got those as the if game. So I think their ceiling is 7-5.
Yeah.
I think they go 6-6 pretty solid, and I think if they max out, and if they win more than 7, I think that they've had a stellar season.
Yeah. So, I would lean to the over, but it's not something I'd be running to the window to just put my money out there and let them keep it for a while. So
Let's move on. We're going to talk about the Kentucky Wildcats.
Well, Mark Stoops, what's he, 11 years in now?
yeah, 11. That's hard to believe, dude.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like he's been there that long.
Years, golly.
Well, it took 5 to get him on a halfway winning program over there.
The guys that were before him didn't leave him anything good. So definitely a long rebuild up there, but.
Yeah, he's been to 7 straight bowl games. He's got 6 winning seasons in the last 7 years. You guys need to get off Stoops' back.
I said he turned it around year 5.
Yeah.
Just said
No
that.
doubt.
Well, it's year 4, but
Whatever.
But they're 100-1 to win the conference. They got their win total at 6.5 too. So
Their unis are on the up and up.
over them chrome helmets.
Them chrome helmets. I dig it.
Well, there's a lot of folks that are high on this team, so I don't know. We'll see.
I'm pretty sure I'm higher on this team than a lot of people are. 9 starters coming back, but the offense has got to be better. Will Levis, yes, he got drafted by the Titans, but all the Kentucky fans were happy to see him go anyway. But they only averaged 19.5 points a game last year. I don't get it. 300 yards a game, 117 rushing yards, 194 passing yards. The offense was not good.
Well, Stoops went back out and brought Liam Cohen back for his offense coordinator and his quarterback coach. This guy, he was at Kentucky 2021, and he bounced up to the LA Rams for 2022.
Yeah.
So maybe they liked what he was doing, and he can help them out.
Well, he definitely got a good one to come in from North Carolina State, a good QB to replace Levitz and Devin Leary, and I'm higher on him than most people are too, but he threw for 1,200 yards, 11 touchdowns last year.
I actually think Devin Leary is better than
Levis.
I
do too.
And like Tony said, Cohen was the first. Wasn't that the first year they'd ever won 10 games?
Yes.
So Cohen was the OC the year they won 10 games. Getting him back is going to be a big boost of confidence for the team. Bringing in a senior quarterback is going to be a big boost of confidence for the team. They got a running back coming back that looks good. They got a lot of things going their way. But
they got the running back from Vandy. Their line, sophomores, juniors. They got 2 guys on there in the center and the right guard and Eli Cox. They're probably going to end up playing on Sundays, so that's always a good thing. They got a serviceable tight end. Their receivers, we'll see. They like Barry Brown. 50 catches last year, 628 yards, 4 touchdowns, but. these guys are going to have to be more explosive.
Yeah, their top 5 receivers are coming back, like you said, tight end of Jordan Dingle and Josh Caddis. I think the O-line's going to be better this year.
Yeah.
They got Eli Cox, like you said, and Jager Burton. And then they got a couple transfers in Marcus Cox and Cortland Ford from USC coming in. So I think they've bolstered that O-line a little bit, give Leary a little bit more time to throw.
Yeah, and then on the other side of the ball, the defense, they bring back 5 starters, and the defense was solid, only gave up 20 points. So your offense only scored 19.5, and your defense only gave up 20 points, but you finished 7-6, and that's counting a bowl loss against Iowa. So you were definitely 50-50 all the way, right? I mean, but that's just not good enough. It's just not good enough. You know, your
SEC.
No, there's no way. So, you know, the free safety Jordan Lovett, the sophomore, 62 tackles, 2 interceptions. You look at the linebackers that they got coming back, 2 seniors and a junior, cornerback that comes in from Cincinnati, and J.Q. Hardaway, and then Andrew Phillips is a junior. So big nose tackle in Hayes, who's a senior, and Deion Walker is a sophomore defensive tackle. So the defense is going to be solid again.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised to see the 20.8 points per game. I didn't realize that because they actually finished 7th in the nation last year versus the past, which just kind of blows my mind looking at the 20.8 here. But they lost 3 starters in the secondary. So
I think the defense lets them down this year.
I hope not.
I do. I think the defense is going to struggle. I mean, they got 5 starters coming back, but now that means you got 6 other guys that you're putting out there. They didn't have a ton of depth.
No.
Somebody goes down, next man up is not really the next man up,
right.
You know, at Kentucky. So I think losing 6 starters on D and having to start with, I think Cohen and I hate to say this, but I just don't know. Honestly, I don't know how is Cohen and Leary going to have. Well, are they going to have the chemistry out of the gate? Because here's the problem: if they don't have chemistry out of the gate, which they've got some shit games to start with to give them some time, but if they don't have chemistry out of the gate, they don't get it together, and they have to rely on the defense for some 3 and outs because they're not getting enough first downs. They don't control the time of possession. They don't keep the clock. They don't keep the ball moving.
It's going to look just like last year.
They're going to fall. They're going to fail. They're going to fold up. So,
I think they win their first 5 games.
yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I got them winning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of the first 7. The only one I got them losing to is Georgia on October 7th, and I got them as a 20.5-point underdog in that game.
And I'll tell you that from the numbers here, you know, the last 4 games, I think it's going to be tough because 3 of them are road games, and then you got Alabama right there in the middle of them.
Well, even the last 5, I mean, Tennessee.
I got them. Right. I got them 5-2 out of the gate, guys. I got to tell you, I'm going to jump. I mean, I hate them as a Georgia fan. I hate them. But I think them Gators are going to do a little something this year.
Well, we'll see. We'll talk about them in a minute. But I did take an alt win on this. The season win total that we have, it was 6.5, and it was juiced to over at -175. I found a over 7.5 wins at -110. So that's what I did. I got them winning 8 games.
Yeah, I agree with you.
If they can go 6 out of their first 7, and then if there's some way or another they can get 2 wins out of Mississippi State, South Carolina, or Louisville, which that all 3 of those games are on the road, so that's not going to be easy. And Louisville is going to be Louisville is going to be a problem. So, and that all that's in-state rivalry already. That they're going to be a problem. So
I'm not high on Tennessee. We touched on that when we were talking about them playing some of the other conferences when we were going through the other conference previews. But I'm not high on Tennessee, so I'm not sold on them losing that game. So I got that as an if game. I think being at Mississippi State is going to be tough. They're going to lose to Alabama, being at South Carolina. And then Louisville always plays like that rivalry.
And
between the 2 of them.
I know we're going to get to Florida and Tennessee here in just a minute, and South Carolina too. But if this plays out like I think it's going to play out, I think they're going to finish 2nd in the East.
Wow, you got them high.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you. I think South Carolina is going to end up being 2nd in the East.
Ooh, riding the Carolina train.
All right, let's scroll right down to Columbia, South Carolina, to the South Carolina Gamecocks. These guys finished up the season in 2022 as the number 23 team, and they pulled off wins against Clemson, Tennessee, and Kentucky last year.
Yeah, 8-5 straight up, 7-5-1 against the spread. 90-1 to win the SEC, and their win total is set at 6.5 plus money to the over. So not only that, they have the number 1 toughest strength of schedule in the nation. Shane Beamer's back for his 3rd year. He's a good coach, guys, and he's a great recruiter too. Can't take anything away from him. 6 starters return on offense from an offense that averaged 30.7 points a game and 377 yards a game. Rushed for 114, which was only good for 102 in the nation. Passing, though, Spencer Rattler, he likes to throw it, so they averaged 263 yards in the air. That was good for 33rd in the nation, so that was a bright spot.
Yeah, he's kind of a wild card. Rattler reminds me a lot of Bo Nix a little bit, where he kind of scampers all over the place, and sometimes he hits big, and sometimes he throws interceptions and gets in a lot of trouble. As you can see there, 18 TDs, 12 interceptions last year. So
yeah,
he's kind of a don't know what you're going to get out of him.
Look, they go to Beamer goes to Dial Loggins, brings him in as a new offensive coordinator, and Loggins had been with the Bears, the Dolphins, the Jets. This is his first offensive coordinator job in the college ranks. Now, if you get time, just go back and look what he did with those offenses. Terrible. It was not good. All 3 of those offenses went down every year he showed up. So it was kind of a curious hire to me. And he's going to have to work with Rattler. Their top running back in Marshawn Lloyd, he left for USC. So, you lose that weapon. You got DeCarrion Joyner, he's a senior. Juju McDowell's a junior. They combined for 74 carries, 275 yards, and 4 touchdowns. So it's not a whole lot coming out of the running back room.
No. You lost a few targets at wide receiver as well, but all SEC star Antoine Walls is back, so they got that going for him.
Juice Wells, baby.
Juice. And then Trey Knox, the tight end, is coming in from Arkansas. I don't know too much about him. But
they're high on him.
Yeah, Juice was 2023 first team all conference for the SEC.
Yeah. I mean, he's really their only weapon. Now, they do have a receiver in Nick Harbor. He's a true freshman. He's 6'6", 240, runs like a deer. Check this out, though.
240.
Yeah, check this out, though. He was a defensive end, then he went to tight end, and now they done moved him to receiver.
Goodness gracious.
So he's obviously an athlete, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how they work him in there, because they got 2 other senior. Juice Wells is a senior. Xavier Leggett's a senior. Eddie Lewis is a senior transfer out of Memphis. So there's experience over there. And then you got this freshman that's 6'6", 240, and he's like the new shiny toy over there. So it's going to be interesting to see what they can do with him.
If Spencer's having one of those games where he's having a hard time hitting his targets, just throw it to that guy.
Throw it to him.
7-foot wingspan.
Both of the tight ends, Trey Knox, senior out of Arkansas, and they're huge on Josh Simon out of Western Kentucky, too. He's another senior. And Dial Loggins was a tight end.
Let me ask you this. Yes or no? Are they going to be able to run the ball?
No.
I don't think so either.
No. You look at the offensive line.
I think people are going to recognize that, and they're going to put 5 people in the box and spread them out with 6. It's going to be a constant nickel package defense against them, and they're going to have struggles.
In the spring game, the backup DNs were destroying the first string offensive line.
Yeah.
So there's problems. And look, Rattler, he's not the biggest guy in the world either, So it's he reminds me of Baker Mayfield, really. Not even Bo Nix, but, Baker.
Yeah.
You know how Baker went, what he's doing in the NFL, right? How in the hell he's still starting? I have no idea.
He just got announced as the starter in Tampa Bay, right?
Yeah, let me see. We're going to go for
That tells
Brady
you the
to Baker.
state of affairs in the Bucs organization.
So I think they got to do some serious work over there on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah,
and then you turn to the defense. 4 starters return, and their top 2 defensive ends transferred out.
Gone.
So, and this is a defense that gave up 30.5 points a game, 420 yards pass per game, 202 yards rushing, and 217 yards passing. That was the bright spot.
I think they ended on the high. I think they had the highest of highs last year, and that anybody that didn't leave is going to regret it, because I think they're in the middle of a rebuild, and I think this is going to be a tough year for South Carolina.
Well, and that defense, and they gave up 30-plus points in their last 4 games. So that was, Tennessee, Clemson, Notre Dame, and Florida. Florida put 38 on them.
Yeah, they allowed 200 yards or more on the ground 7 times last year, finished 117 in rushing yards per game. So they got to shore that up, no doubt.
Yeah. You got seniors on the defensive line. You got a defensive end that's a senior that comes back, but he's coming back off an injury, and Jordan Strachan. They're high on Desmond Unzama, who's a freshman defensive end. This kid's 6'6", 245. They're already talking about he will be in the mix. They got to figure out a way to get to the quarterback.
Well, they're not going to have anybody else to have in the mix,
have
so
anybody else.
he's going to have to be.
You know, Debo Williams at linebacker is a junior, at 43 tackles last year. They got that was the bright spot, and it's probably still their strongest spot is their DBs. You know, their cornerbacks. 45 tackles, 3 interceptions from Marcel Dye. He's a senior. Odell Fortune is a junior. And you got your safeties. You got a sophomore safety and actually 2 sophomore safeties.
Two of them coming in with 85 tackles.
Which is not good.
Not good.
Yeah. Jordan Birch skedaddling to Oregon definitely hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they got their hands full. And like I said, now listen, the strength of schedule doesn't always play out that way. You know, a lot of people don't even look at it necessarily.
Yeah.
But to me, if you're an SEC team, you already know that you're going to have it rough. The first week of the season, they get that high-powered offense from North Carolina.
Yep.
Now,
We're going to know right away.
we're going to know right away. I'm taking North Carolina. I'm going to lay the 3.5 or whatever it ends up being come the next Sunday night. I think they're going to get boat raced by North Carolina.
I think they're going to get drummed. I wrote a note here, and I said they've got 6 if games. And we'll know on September 2nd if those 6 games are actually if games.
Yeah, because it could just be 5 after that, right?
Right. So,
Or less.
yeah, it could. Well, all those if games might not be if games because if they get drummed by North Carolina, then they're likely going to go down on these others. So.
Yeah, I had highlighted. The 3 surefire wins I gave them was Furman, Jacksonville State, and Vandy. Okay.
Me too.
I mean,
I wrote 3 wins to it, and then a bunch of question marks.
North Carolina, Mississippi State, Florida, at Missouri, and Kentucky, I got as if games. They're not beating Georgia. They're not beating Tennessee.
Tennessee is out for blood after last year.
They got to go to Athens. They got to go to Knoxville. They got to go to College Station. And then they end the season with Clemson. And if Clemson does what we projected them to do,
Right.
by the time they get there, Cade Klubnik might be the Heisman front runner.
Yeah.
And he gets to go up against that defense. That
Well,
might seal the deal for him.
It's going to pad some stats.
You got a win total of 6.5, and I think they're way under.
I bet under 6.5.
Under. Take the under and run.
Let's head down to the swamp. Florida Gators.
Here it goes.
Go ahead, Chris. I'll
Here
let
they
you bring the
come.
heat.
Oh, boy.
Billy Napier, second year after getting his ass kicked by Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, Vandy, LSU, and FSU last
Now
year.
you think about that. I bet Steve Spurrier. Can you just imagine
Oh,
him?
my God.
Oh my God!
He's still throwing his visor.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
He's still throwing it down.
From 1980 to 2012, they had 0 losing seasons, speaking to Steve Spurrier. Do you know the last time Florida lost back-to-back or had back-to-back losing seasons?
Yeah.
78 and 79.
And look,
Before last year, of course.
yeah, and the last time they had back-to-back losing seasons in the SEC was in the 1950s.
Whew.
Well, Billy Napier inherited a shit show.
Oh my God, dude!
Like
Dan Mullen left him about the same
He
that
left him a
Jimbo
bag of
left
dicks,
all
is
them
what he
guys.
left him.
Yes, I mean,
in 2021, they had the number 12 recruiting class in the country, and then in 22 they had the 17th, and 23 they had the 12th. So they're getting some athletes again. They probably are doing a lot of home shopping because
you got
those
to.
damn athletes in Florida. I mean, there's so many athletes. They say all those, the top states for college athletes, whether it's track and field, football, and a lot of your speed sports come out of California, Texas, Georgia, Florida.
Is Florida one of those NIL states where the high school kids can get NIL money if they stay in state for college?
I don't know.
I know
if it is or
Missouri.
not.
I know Missouri is one of those states.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Billy Napier's got a lemonade stand set up at IMG, so
he should.
he's
He
doing
probably
every.
teaches there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
He's doing-
if he doesn't have he should be teaching a
Look,
class
these
there.
guys probably won't even make a bowl this year.
he's just hanging out in Sarasota.
Do you
Look,
really feel
listen.
that way, T?
Hey, look, the bowl they made last year, they got beat 30-3 by Oregon State.
I mean, look at the win
Drone.
totals he's got on here: 5.5.
Hey, listen, I got him going 8-4. I'm telling you, bet the over. Florida is making a comeback.
Oof.
Anthony Richardson is gone. They got the junior transfer and Graham Mertz coming in, and he's going to be better than Anthony Richardson.
Well, let me just tell you a little bit about Graham Mertz
Yes.
while you're high on him. He netted and abysmal. So over 4 years at Wisconsin, his net rushing yards were negative 21. In 4 years, his rushing. So Napier likes a little mobile quarterback, and Graham Mertz is not that.
I don't even know if he's going to get to play. Is he going to be the starter?
He's starting.
Either him or Jack Miller.
But look, that
seems
doesn't
like it's
mean
a coin toss.
That doesn't mean next Thursday, August the 31st, when they go to Utah and he throws 5 picks in the first half. That don't mean he's going to start the second half.
Right.
Utah's going to mollywop them.
Well, we'll see, man. Without Cam Rising, that's going to be. I mean,
What's the latest on Cam Rising?
so he tore his knee up last year in the bowl
Right.
game, and
I thought he was back.
well, they thought he was going to be back, and he's been trying to go, but he just can't go. So they're going to turn to third string Blake Barnes.
Jeez.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
And
yeah.
look, I mean, listen.
Because I'm high on Utah this year, but if Cam Rising's not coming in,
maybe not.
I need to change some things around.
It's still an SEC team, so there's still speed.
They are set up like an SEC team.
We'll see what happens with that. But that line went from like 9 to 5 to 3. I've seen it all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that Florida's loaded at running back, though. They got Montrell Johnson, Trevor Etienne. They got a transfer from Tulane, Cam Carroll. But
He's gone.
the O-line is all gone.
Hey, Cam Carroll lost for the season after a knee injury in last Friday's scrimmage.
oh,
no
really?
shit.
Oh, shit, I missed that.
Yep, and that was going to be their senior. He was going to be the quote-unquote bell cow, the big 230-pound running back. That's what they were going to look for him to fill in that role, because ETN, which is Travis's brother, the great Clemson running back, is at Jacksonville now. The kid is elite. He's a game wrecker. I mean, he can flat out 2 steps and I'll send you a postcard next week or whatever.
Right.
So the running backs are they're loaded. The running back room is.
Well, before you jump on that offensive line that everybody else wants to jump on, let me give you a little knowledge. Billy Napier went shopping, and he went shopping in the portal, and he got him a 6'7" tackle out of Louisiana, 4-star kid, 330 pounds. He got him a 6'8", 340-pound transfer from Kentucky. He got Damian George, a transfer tackle out of Alabama, and he got another kid out of Baylor. It was a big kid. So he knew where he was struggling, and we'll see we don't know how those guys are going to play. They're not battle tested yet. We don't know what they're going to turn out to be. But he brought in some beef to put up there.
Yeah, he's got some big boys, but they're all leaving schools.
Well,
right?
he's gonna have to have that kind of line to protect Graham Mertz, because Graham Mertz is not leaving the pocket.
Yeah.
If he does, it's lights out, game over.
He sounds like he's a good rusher.
Yeah, obviously.
Negative 21.
Oh,
Guys
These
lighting
guys,
it up outside
these
the
guys
pocket.
are kind of mirroring some of the Big 12 here.
Yeah.
They're going to put up some points, but they still got defensive problems.
Well, speaking of putting up some points, they do have one deep threat in Adian Mizell, a true freshman. The kid was great in the spring game. He was really about the only highlight, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. So they're going to look to him to make some plays, but I think they're going to be challenged over here, Chris. I
think they're going to run the ball well,
but they're going to have to.
and they're going to force a team to bring 6 or 8 in the box, and that's going to open up the throwing lanes, and Graham Mertz is going to hit some guys.
It really is about the offensive line, though. It really is about who he brought in.
Right.
How good can they be? And is there going to be enough depth?
Hey, listen, I want Florida to lose every fucking game. Like, I'm a dog fan, son. I want Florida to go in there and get their fucking ass kicked. But I just feel like there's something inside me that thinks that they're going to turn it around this year. And, of course, I've had these feelings before, and I've been completely wrong. And I'll be happy to be completely fucking wrong about this one, too.
Well, I mean, even on the defense, with the 5 guys coming back, they went out and got the new co-defensive coordinator in Austin Armstrong. He's only 29 years old.
Damn.
He's former DC at Southern Miss. He was hired in January to coach linebackers in Alabama, and then like 2 weeks later, Billy Napier went and made him an offer, and he couldn't resist. So
Right.
that just tells you
He was a desired guy.
Oh, know Saban was bringing him in to be a protege. There's no doubt about
Right.
it. No doubt about it.
I still don't know if it's the right move. Like,
we'll
find out.
see.
But I mean, I think if I'm 29 years old and I got the opportunity to go be a linebacker coach under Nick Saban,
why would I?
I'm probably going to do that.
Why would I go on that sinking ship down there in Gainesville?
I don't know, man. I'm going to give them the nod. I think they're going to do a little something this year. I think they got enough talent and enough athletes that they're going to do a little something.
Well, their defense ranked last in the SEC last year. Last. Hold on. Vanderbilt.
If I don't pick somebody
Vanderbilt
that's
is also in the SEC.
listen, here's the one thing you know. Ain't nobody else jumping on this bandwagon.
Everybody's shitting on Chris's Florida here.
Well, I mean,
Hey,
y'all
I'm
showing
glad.
me picking South Carolina, so you
Well,
might as well pick
it's
on Chris.
Listen, let's just talk about the monsters. Like, we're talking monsters on defensive line. Cam Jackson, they just got him. He's a junior tackle. They got him out of Memphis, 6'6", 370.
Beasts.
Desmond Watson, a junior nose tackle, 6'5", 440.
40 pounds.
But listen, they're very concerned about that because apparently he bloomed up like 28 pounds from off-season to spring game.
Oh, boy.
So I don't know how much at 440. Yeah, you can plug. I'm sure you can plug the hole, but I don't know what else you can, maybe just fall over and hope you grab the quarterback on the way down.
You're not moving athletically.
But Caleb Banks, true freshman tackle out of Louisville, 6'6", 323. They got some monsters on the line.
Yeah, they got some pretty good edge rushers, too. Princely, I'm going to screw this up. Umanamilan. He's going to be the star of the show. And then they got Tyreek Sapp on the other side.
Yep.
So they got a couple guys that can get to the quarterback.
Yep. Went to the portal on the linebacker. Shamar Jones, sophomore, and another linebacker, junior transfer out of Houston, and Manny Nunnery. Stand out in the spring game, was great in the spring game, havoc all over the place. So you go back and you look at the safeties, sophomore safety, junior cornerback, 20 tackles, 1 pick, and Marshall Jr. back there. And then you got R.J. Moten, who's a safety they got from Michigan, was number 2 safety in the portal. So he went shopping on both sides.
Yeah, Marshall could be special. He's got a day 1 NFL draft upside. So,
Well, here's the good thing about this one. We're going to know a little early. On August 31st, on Thursday night, August 31st, we're going to find out.
Well, they beat them last year.
Yeah, and they should beat him this year if they got the
if
third
Cam
string
Rising-
quarterback,
If
right?
Cam Rising's not playing, I might change that L to a W, and that will solidify my 8-win pick.
Well, I didn't place it at 5.5 under at plus 110. I didn't bet it, but if I had to, now certainly the Utah game could change everything. Okay, but they still, okay, let's say they get Utah, they're going to get McNeese. Okay, we know that. They're going to get Charlotte. They didn't get Vandy last year, but we'll say they get Vandy. That's 4. So for me, I got 6 and 6 as the top. I got them going to a bowl game again, but I don't know. I don't know, but 5 and 7 could be realistic too. Listen, if Graham Mertz is terrible and the offensive line isn't what they think it's going to be, well then Trevor Etienne and Montrell Johnson is not going to matter.
Right.
So defense has got to be turned around.
8 and 4.
8 and 4.
Heard it here first.
So you got them beating Utah, McNeese,
Well,
Charlotte,
Yeah, who do you got him beating?
Vandy, South Carolina, Missouri,
I got
and
them beaten.
Arkansas.
Listen, I told y'all, I am not on that Tennessee bandwagon.
Yeah, Tennessee.
I think that Tennessee, they had a run last year that was a good run. Just because they got a quarterback that can throw it 100 yards, that does not make him a quarterback or a football player. Just means he can throw the shit out of the fucking football.
Athlete.
He's just an athlete, right? You got so I got him, and if Cam Rising doesn't play, then I got him beating Utah. Doesn't sound like he's going
Listen,
to. 'Cause
I'm
that's
pretty
next
sure he's
week.
not going to.
So no Cam Rising. I got him winning Utah, McNeese, Tennessee, Charlotte, and Kentucky. I got them coming out 5-0.
Right? And then they're going to beat Vanderbilt.
And they're going to be
6-0.
Vanderbilt 6-0.
And then you said South Carolina.
They're gonna
You
beat
think
South
they're gonna
Carolina.
start 7-0?
Well, no, I had them at 6-1 because I had them losing to Utah, but I didn't realize Cam Rising wasn't playing. And then they lose to Georgia. So that's I had
7-1.
which originally was 6-2 for me.
Okay.
Arkansas, I got them getting the nod at Arkansas. I got them getting just shellacked at LSU.
By then, LSU will be a machine.
LSU is going to be a machine. I put them to win the pick game against Missouri. I don't really think they're going to win that one, but I was already fucking rolling with them, so I was like, "What the hell?" I'm already on this bus.
So that's 8-3.
And then I got them beating Florida State because I'm not on that Florida State wagon. I don't think Florida State's going to do anything. But
All right, 9-3.
but I got them at 8. I had them at 8-4, and then that.
The Utah.
But you add the Utah, but a couple of those other games I just threw in there because I don't really necessarily think they're going to win. But so that's why, even though I added the Utah win, I stayed at 8-4.
Well, I know our buddy,
Back the truck up.
Robert English will be very, Very happy to hear that prediction.
Well, anybody that knows me as a dog fan is going to be cussing me up and down right now.
They're gonna drop either the Kentucky or the South Carolina game. I don't know which one, but they'll drop one of them.
Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I hate Florida too, but they've always been good, and I completely agree with you on the whole Alabama thing. I do not think they are washed up or done or anything like that. I think Alabama is a strong team and is probably going to be right back in the mix again this year, but man, Florida just does not look attractive on paper to me.
Well, we're going to find out, guys. Next Thursday night at 8 o'clock. That's
Yeah,
they play for real.
We'll know before we watch hardly any other games this year.
Let's go Rocky Toppin to Knoxville, Tennessee Volunteers. These guys finished up last year number 6. This year they are preseason ranked AP top 25 at number 12.
11-2 straight up last year, 10-3 against the spread. 14-1 to win the SEC this year. They got their win total set at 9.5, and that's plus money. If you like the over, you can get plus 145 on that, or you can lay 190 to go under. Josh Heupel returns for his 3rd year. Got 5 offensive starters returning from an offense that averaged 44.5 points a game, good for number 1 in the nation. 511 yards per game, good for number 1 in the nation. 199 rushing yards per game, good for 20th. 312 yards in the air, good for 9th. So needless to say, the offense was singing last year. It was hitting on all 8. Now, all that being said, he goes and gets him a new offensive coordinator in Joey Hazel because Alex Golish left to go be the head coach of South Florida.
He gone.
He went down there to coach with some sure enough athletes. But Hazel's been with Heupel for 15 years on and off in different roles at, South Florida or Central Florida. And I'm sure he was, assistant with him at Oklahoma when he was over there too. So
Was Hazel with Tennessee last year?
No, yeah, I think he did hire within. Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, Hendon Hooker, the star quarterback, I think he was on the high. I think he ended up going to the Heisman ceremony last year. Had a shot to.
He had a nod. He got a nod.
He really had a shot to really make his numbers look good before he got hurt.
Yeah.
So they got to replace him. He was the 3rd round pick by the Detroit Lions. So they're going to do that with 6-year senior Joe Milton. Last year, Milton threw for 970 yards and 10 touchdowns. This is a guy who was the starter at Michigan. So he's had some experience. Like I said, he's a 6-year senior. Big arm, but
did he lose his starting job in Michigan?
Yes. Not very accurate. Really doesn't have a lot of touch on the ball. He likes to throw everything 100 miles an hour, whether you're 5 yards or 50.
Right.
And he holds the ball a long time. So.
Well, I mean, he's got to be damn near perfect to come anywhere close to Hendon Hooker's numbers. 77 completions, 27 TDs, and 2 INTs. So good luck.
Yeah.
Over under on how many games it takes for Nico to get the nod.
It's a great question but from what I understand now, in the spring game, in the spring practices, and in the fall camp, Nico has taken no reps with the one team. It's all been Joe. Apparently that they are convinced that they got the accuracies issues fixed. They're convinced they got the touch on the ball fixed. So Nico has taken no reps with the ones.
I think that's a recipe for disaster.
Well, wait till Austin P sends one of them linebackers coming in at him to see how he does.
What happens if this cat goes down?
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. I don't know. Listen, it's hard to argue with Josh Heupel. I mean, the man can flat out call some offenses, period. So,
well, outside of Florida, they got 6 weeks to figure it out with him.
Yes, I agree.
I mean, they got a fucking lay down schedule. This is a turd of a schedule for the first 6 weeks.
Yeah,
except for Florida.
Yeah, senior running back in Jabari Small. He comes back. He had 734 yards last year and 13 touchdowns. Junior and Jalen Wright, 875 yards last year, 10 touchdowns. They got a freshman running back in Cameron Selden. This kid's 6'2", 215, but right now he's 4th on the depth chart. But they like him a lot. So
yeah, it's a tall running back.
Yeah, he's a big old boy, man. Big old boy. They say he's pretty quick. So Brew McCoy, definitely the senior wide receiver. He's 667 yards last year and 4 touchdowns. That's going to be Joe's guy. They're going to be looking for. But the one that he likes even more than that is the other senior in Keaton, who had 31 receptions, 562 yards, and 5 touchdowns last year. That is Milton's BFF.
Yeah, losing Hyatt and Tillman is going to hurt, no doubt.
No doubt.
McCoy and Keaton should be great, and then they got the guy with one of the best names in college football, Squirrel White.
Anyway, you look at the tight end room. They got a senior in Jacob Warren, so I think he's much more probably in there for pass protection, blocking, or whatever. 12 receptions last year, 163 yards. So, but again, he's a senior. He's experienced. Heupel's he likes to block in formation, so it's good that he's down there. You go to this offensive line, and you see they went straight to Miami to get a senior left tackle in John Campbell. Good in the pass, terrible in the run. You go back and look at some of his metrics last year in the run game. He's terrible. He was terrible. Terrible, Tony. Terrible.
They also grabbed a big offensive lineman out of Texas.
Yeah, and look, they got seniors. They got seniors at the center, at the right tackle, the left tackle, and the right guard. But after that, I don't know about the depth. And here's something I found out today. All SEC candidate senior, Cooper Mays. I know Georgia fans probably remember that whole debacle.
Oh, was he the one?
That's the one where his dad sat in the chair and the finger up. Yes.
Fell over.
Yes. So Cooper is still hurt. So that goes back to my depth question. Now they're going to have to move the left guard to senior, and they're going to have to figure out what they're going to do over there in the left guard position. So right off the bat, the question about how good is your offensive line is going to come up. Now, it's not going to matter against Virginia or Austin Peay, but when they go to Florida, it could matter with the monsters we just talked about.
The only defense for the Mays brothers, Cooper and Cade. Cade came before Cooper, but their dad did play at Tennessee. So,
yeah. Which everybody was kind of shocked he showed, but that was Sam Pittman. Sam Pittman got him down there to Georgia. Anyway, he's hurt, man, and doesn't like he's going to be able to go against Virginia, and they're really not sure how bad he is hurt. So, but anytime you're all SEC guy, your senior center isn't there to snap the ball to this quarterback who we already got questions about, So we'll see what happens over there on offense.
But he can throw the football 100 yards.
Man, he can. He can.
I mean,
hey, he looked great against Clemson in the bowl game. I'll give him that.
On a brighter note, they do have 7 starters returning from one of the shittiest defenses in the SEC.
Well, 22 points a game. I mean, that was good for 30th. But after that, 406 yards, 84th, 119 rushing. That was good against the run. The passing, though, was terrible. They gave up 287 yards in there. It's 128 out of 131 schools.
Yeah, hell, they led the SEC in tackles for loss last year, but the secondary's got some holes in it. Finished at 128 in the nation, 287 pass yards.
And look, that's all 4 seniors coming back, but they love Slaughter. Yeah, I mean, while we're talking about that, but they got 4 seniors coming back. The cornerback, Donkey Slaughter, he's coming back. McDonald at the safety, he's coming back. Walker at the other safety, he's a senior. The free safety, Jalen McCullough, he's a senior. So that backfield that was beat all to hell in back last year, they're all 4 back. So they got another year experience. So listen, at nose tackle, Amari Thomas, senior, big guy, 27 tackles, 2 sacks. Defensive tackle, senior Roman Harris, 40 tackles, 3 sacks. The guy on the end, Tyler Barron, senior, 13 tackles, 2.5 sacks. They got to be better right there. They just recruited some kid. I heard it today. This kid that they thought that Kirby was going to get, but he committed today to Tennessee. He's a big edge guy off the end, so they're super glad about that. But Aaron Beasley, the senior, 76 tackles last year, 3 sacks. Outside linebacker Keelan Pilley is a senior that they got in from BYU. He's probably 30 years old, but he had 62 tackles last year and 1 sack. I look at this Tennessee team, and we talk about a lot of these other coaches. Like we talk about Urban Meyer when he went to Ohio State. Like he went up there and he built an SEC team up there, right? We talk about that kind of stuff. Like Dan Lannon going to Oregon and he's building his team like Kirby does, right? But I look at this Tennessee team, and I believed it last year too. I feel like Heupel come to Tennessee and built a team like Central Florida out of the AAC. They score points. Reminds me a lot of Gus. I mean, it really does. Him and Gus, they remind me so much of each other. It's just not sustainable to me.
Yeah, they can't get washed up in the passing game. They've got to not forget to run the ball. They were 9-0 last year when they were rushing for over 155 and 0-4 when they didn't. So I know they're big on Joe Milton.
Listen, so if they go 3 and out, they're in serious trouble, right? I mean,
they're done.
They're in trouble.
Especially, I mean, if the SEC hadn't transformed into such a passing league, if it was still like
ground and pound, 3 yards in a cloud of dust,
3 yards in a cloud of dust, right? 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Like if it had transformed into such a passing league like all the rest of the leagues have, then they could get away with this. But that shit secondary, I mean, you can't get away with it.
Carson Beck will have 400 yards. I would like to see what Stetson had against them last year, and Kirby called them off at halftime.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, we were just running the ball there in third quarter.
Yeah. As much as Tennessee fans would like to think that they're back, I'm not buying it. South Carolina scored 63 on them. I bet Tennessee under 9.5. I took it at plus 110.
But that said, they can start out 5-0.
But listen, they can start out 5-0, but they got to win 5 of them out of them last 7 for me to lose my bet. And
I don't see them getting past South Carolina and Texas A&M.
I got them taking the L to Florida. 4-1. I got them 4-1 going into A&M, and then I got A&M getting that ass.
Well, y'all know how I feel about A&M. I'm a lot higher on A&M than especially than y'all are, but than most people too. But again, that to me that all goes back to that talent and whether or not Jimbo can leave Petrino the hell alone. But anyway,
hey man, I got them dropping 3 in a row: A&M, Alabama, Kentucky.
I got them losing to A&M, Alabama, Kentucky, and Georgia. So that's 4 losses right there.
I'm talking about 3 in a row.
Yeah.
So you're on the under on 9.5.
I'm on the under.
And I'm questionable on Missouri because I think Missouri has a chance to have a decent season.
Well, they got to go there and play. And again, you just ask Kirby how tough it is to go there. And I don't know, we don't know if that's going to be a night game or not, but if it is,
Missouri
that's
plays
worse.
physical football.
Yeah. Well, we went over the stats in Missouri.
Yeah.
The defense is solid, man.
They're solid. So I got them with a question mark at Missouri, and then, of course, they're going to, beat the shit out of Vandy at the end of the year.
Well, when we're talking about what Tennessee can do, I mean, is anybody really scared of those running backs, though? I mean, do they really scare you? So you keep Milton, you put a spy on Milton, right? And then what's going to happen? How are they going to beat you? What are they going to do? Because, look, all them great offensive numbers, there's regression coming. And
their 2 best receivers are gone. They're gone.
So,
and those guys were studs. They weren't just.
No.
I mean, they weren't.
Tillman, man.
Jalen Hyatt was so fast that he was just throwing the ball up. Nobody could catch him. So, and that, I mean, that's done.
And Hendon Hooker was great, too.
He had a great year.
Absolutely incredible.
I'm not going to say he was great. He had a great year because he had the fastest guy on the field.
Absolutely.
And all he had to do was take a couple steps back and throw the shit out of the ball, and that guy was going to get it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that dude's a stud. I wouldn't take anything from him. If he wasn't hurt, I think it would have been a little different at the end. But
yeah,
Hooker's an athlete.
But you do got to look at yourself in the mirror when you go to South Carolina and you get 63 hung on you. That's when you got to start asking questions. So,
I got them capped at 8 wins. I got to go 7-5, and I got them being the biggest underachievers in the SEC.
Yeah, I got them 8-4, and maybe somehow or another they get the 9th win or something. But sorry, Tennessee fans.
Sorry to our boys, Scott Underwood and Tim Fell.
Busby and Phillip.
We still love you, boys.
It's going to be a
Miracle.
tough season.
Hey, there's always next year.
So let's talk about the Georgia Bulldogs. These guys finished, of course, number 1 last year with the national championship. This was a repeat from a national championship from the year before. And this year, they are preseason ranked number 1 AP top 25.
They're also a heavy favorite at minus 115 to win the SEC. And their win total is a ridiculous 11.5.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, when I look at that schedule, yeah, sounds about right. But
we do got an easy schedule.
60th in the nation, strength of schedule, 60th
this schedule
in the nation.
is a lay down.
Yeah, 3 of us here are Georgia homers, but nobody here is not admitting that we don't have a cupcake schedule.
And we're not bandwagon Georgia fans. We didn't jump on them when Kirby came. We were there when Kirby was playing there. We were fans. I was a fan at 5 years old when Herschel was running against Notre Dame. I was a fan when they sucked and didn't win shit for 30 fucking years. So don't come at me like, oh, you're a bandwagon. No, you're gloating, because I have spent, I don't know how many years did we have with Rick going 11-1 and not winning shit. I mean, it was like,
dude, that game when Aaron Murray didn't throw that ball to the end zone in the SEC championship game,
just
and y'all
fucking
could have got
spike
Notre
the
Dame.
ball.
Y'all could have got Notre Dame.
All he had to do was run down and spike the
it.
ball.
Yeah, he didn't
that
do
was
that.
the national championship. That might have been the best SEC game I've ever
great.
seen. I mean, we lost, but it was probably one of the best SEC games.
We're gonna enjoy the limelight while we can.
Yeah,
We know damn well
basking in
that
it.
we know that Saban is reloading, and we know that we're gonna get challenged again. So we're gonna take.
Y'all ain't playing Saban though. Y'all be playing Brian Kelly or either Jimbo.
So let's start with our biggest question mark this year.
Well, look. So they're back to back, right? They're going for a three-peat.
Yeah.
Last time a three-peat happened, 1934 through 1936, the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
The Golden Gophers.
So we're talking about 90 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Basically 90 years ago.
Biggest question mark, he returns as Georgia's new offensive coordinator, Mike Bobo. Ex-quarterback, ex-offensive coordinator, then shipped around. Couple of failed jobs.
Auburn's offensive coordinator. He was at South Carolina. Yeah, Colorado State head coach.
Colorado, yeah. So Bobo's been around. He had a lot of success under Mark Richt. He really did as offensive coordinator, although he ran a screen about every third play. But I think he
loves
ran
some damn
screenplays.
I bet you he ain't doing that this year, though.
Not as much, anyway. But
well, I mean, Bobo, I don't think they're questioning Bobo's ability to win the SEC. They're questioning Bobo's ability to win out and perform during the playoffs.
I'm questioning his ability to coach this team through all of the things they're going to have to face when it gets to the end of the season. The adversity of having to get up and down. You got a good team one week, a shit team the next week. Keeping those guys motivated, keeping this running back room on the field. They're going to have to, we'll talk about that in a second, but they got some problems with the running back room. So I think that he's got some things to overcome. But the thing that he's never had at any of his previous jobs is Kirby Smart.
Right.
Kirby Smart's a difference. He's a difference maker.
And he's never had this kind of talent. Even Rick didn't even have this kind of talent. They had great teams, but this is...
The talent's ridiculous.
Stetson Bennett, two-time national champion. I think he finished fourth in the Heisman voting.
Of all the studs, of all the running backs that have come out of Georgia, of all the players that have been incredible NFL players out of Georgia, from Hines Ward, people that are Garrison Hurst and all these great running backs. I mean, going back through the years, the most decorated player to ever play at the University of Georgia is this 5'9", 165-pound little wormy kid that refuses to fucking lose.
That's right, man.
Yeah, it's a hell of a come-up story, no doubt.
All right, Carson Beck, can he do it?
I certainly believe in him. I believe in him. I know we bet him to win the Heisman. So
y'all did. I did.
Yeah,
I
30-1.
I told you he would bet on the Heisman. Nobody's listening. He's not even on the top 10 list.
Who was it?
Brock Bowers.
Oh, yeah. Well, no tight ends ever won the Heisman. So.
Some things got to change.
He might get the Offensive Player of the Year. That's probably more.
Hey, man, he's gonna win a Heisman.
Florida.
Let me tell you something.
Brock Bowers for the Heisman.
Hey, listen, Brock Bowers has been taking some snaps at running back.
Oh, yeah. Well, he had two. Last year, what did he have? Well, anyway,
Look,
he had
that in and around play that he's always in. He gets yards.
So,
but listen, if they go undefeated. And Carson Beck's winning the Heisman. It ain't going to be Brock Bowers.
We'll see.
Now, it might be Offensive Player of the Year or something, but...
We'll see.
Look, Brock Bowers probably needs to line up at running back because we have got some terrible news coming out of Athens over the last week or so. Branson Robinson is done for the year. He apparently ruptured his patella tendon in non-contact drills. And then I heard DeJuan Edwards has an MCL sprain. Just saw that today.
Kendall Milton, hamstring.
Kendall Milton's dealing with a hamstring issue. Of course, we're always loading up at running back. We got Roderick Robinson coming in. No relationship to Branson there. So he's going to have some shoes to fill.
He's a four-star kid out of California, and he's probably the most talented running back.
That's what they say.
But I think the problem is Branson had all the reps. Dejon had the reps. Those guys already knew the blocking assignments. That's huge for this offense, the play action assignments, the blocking assignments, how to get in the right place at the right time, because Kirby plays team football. Like, you got to know your fucking role. You can't just be out there faking it. You can't fake it till you make it on this team.
We got UT Martin and Ball State, so we have 2 games to get it together.
To get tested.
And then you got South Carolina and UAB, so you got 4 games, really.
And then we got Auburn, so we got 5 games.
Easy. Upset alert.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, give a little shout out to my brother Davey. Just went to New Mexico with him this weekend. Just let him know he's going to get his ass kicked on that September 30th date, so get ready for it.
Upset alert.
Let's go back to this quarterback room real quick. What if Carson Beck is not the guy?
It's got to be. Listen, I like Gunnar Stockton.
I do too.
I've heard Buck Bellew talk about Gunnar Stockton, several of them, he is for real. But Vandergrift too, though. I've heard people just rave about Carson Beck and his arm and his ability to throw the ball down the field and his knowledge of the offense. And I really believe that he was going to be QB1 this whole time anyway. I mean,
Right.
I'm sure he got pushed by Stockton and Vandergriff. I'm sure he did. But
my
this is a
point
guy.
is, if he comes out as a bad decision maker,
Well, then
with all of his talent,
they're not going to waste any time.
I don't think it's going to hurt him.
Well, not them first 5 games.
But I think they got time to make a change, and I think those other guys that are in waiting would be starters anywhere else in the country.
Yeah.
So I don't.
You go, look, we would gladly take, and I told y'all last year, hey, I thought y'all don't want Carson. We'll take Carson if he didn't want to wait behind Stetson again. But I told y'all this year, we'll take Vandergriff or Stockton. Just bring him on over to the Plains right now.
That's right.
I'll drive him
You'll go pick him up
right now.
Yeah, I mean, 2 years ago, we were all screaming if Kirby had an issue, it was his dedication to the quarterback and letting the guy that's next in line take the role and take it on. But
it paid off.
You know, we were bitching and moaning, get Stetson out of the game, put in Daniels, put in JT.
Now, look,
and then he goes on to win us 2 natty championships. And you're like, oh, all right, maybe he does know something.
But listen, let's go back to 2 years ago. I believe Georgia was going to play UAB. Okay. Carson Beck got the job, but Carson Beck couldn't keep his mouth shut. Told his high school coach, and it got out. And guess what? Stetson Bennett took over, and that was all she wrote.
That was it.
Yeah.
So it's not like I've heard people say, oh, well, he couldn't beat out Stetson Bennett. That's not the case.
Right.
You know, it happened, and I think Carson learned. I think Carson has been knowing he's the starter, but he also learned a lesson 2 years ago, too. So I think the guy's ready. I think he's going to be just fine.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's ready. I hate this running back situation. Kendall Milton was as a freshman.
Yeah.
I believe if you go back and look at the stats, that he actually led the team in yards per carry. He just wasn't getting as many carries because he was a freshman and they were loaded.
Yeah.
But for 4 years, injuries.
Well, I mean, yeah, last year only 85 carries, 8 touchdowns, but only 582 yards because he was hurt.
I was looking so forward to him when they said he was coming back this year. I was like, thank God, Kendall Milton's coming back. It's finally his year to shine. Maybe he'll get healthy.
No, he's not healthy. Them hamstrings, and listen, y'all know that doesn't heal overnight.
Well, I feel like they just keep trying to bring him back before it's ready. I mean, if you got hamstrings for a year and a half,
But if you're talking about Edwards has got an MCL sprain now,
well,
Yeah, I just
MCL
saw that before I
sprain.
jumped on the pod.
MCL sprain can heal itself in a few weeks, so we got some lay down. So he can be back by the time we get some tough gains.
but even look, you know what? If you decide you don't want to run the ball, you can throw it to Lad McConkey, Dylan Bell.
Yeah, the receiving core is
I mean-
absolutely stacked. We got obviously Brock Bowers went for nearly 1,000 yards, 7 TDs last year, arguably the best tight end in the nation. Then you got Oscar Delp on the other side, right behind him, or on the opposite side of him. It'd be nice to kind of see like a little New England Patriot style
Yeah.
offense.
You said arguably. There's no doubt that Brock Bowers is the best tight end in the nation and probably the best football player in college
Probably
football right now.
He's
And if you
badass.
want to get down to the real notes, Oscar Delp would probably be the best tight end in the nation if he wasn't playing behind Brock Bowers, or at least close to it. He's that good. So
And they love that Sperling kid, the freshman. They love him already. They've been raving about him in camp all even back in the spring. So the room's full when you go to the tight end meetings. It's full. Like there's no vacancy at the end. And y'all don't need any more riches either.
Big Darnell's showing out up there in Pittsburgh too. Boy, turning heads in training camp this year with the Steelers. I love
But
it.
even the receivers, man, Arian Smith, Rosemy Jackson, they get Lovick in from Missouri. Look, Lovick, 56 receptions last year, 846, 3 touchdowns, 0 drops on 76 targets.
Unbelievable.
Then we get
That's
Mississippi
Calvin
State's
Johnson numbers.
Yes.
Mississippi State's number one
Ra-Ra.
receiver, Ra Thomas.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's no doubt, you know, that part, the weapons are there. We know that.
The other thing Kirby said, he had a press conference. I don't know if he did the conference last night or today, but he was talking about Andrew Paul, the freshman kid out of Texas, 4-star running back. Said he's getting a ton of reps in practice, that he looks good, along with Roderick Robinson. And then even the Cash Jones, the 2-star recruit out of Texas, said he's moved up the depth chart, getting some touches in practice. So they're still going to have a rotation, even though the starters aren't coming in, and we may not have that Derrick Henry running back. We're going to have a rotation of guys that are going to beat it down your throat, and they're going to be able to do it because that offensive line is going to be stacked.
Oh, yeah, 100%. We lost Broderick Jones, but nearly all the key players are back. Van Plan, Truss, Ratledge, Mims, and then we got a redshirt freshman Green coming in looking to replace Jones. But, yeah, the offensive line is going to be deep, deep.
Yeah, they're 10 deep, man. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They're 10 deep. Tate Rutledge, senior, the best pass blocker, no doubt about it. Now, what he does in the run, whatever, but they're deep. They're experienced. There's no doubt about it. You look at the right tackle, Mims. I thought this was kind of interesting. He had over 400 snaps last year. He's elite in pass protection. He wanted to go to FSU, and then he changed his mind. Decided he's going to come back for a three-peat. So, Cedric Van Pran, I'm sure him and Ratledge, one of them, both of them, if not, I think Van Pran was at SEC Media Day, so they think a lot of him. And, when you're 10 deep on the offensive line, and for years, they talked about, this is going to be the best offensive line in the nation under Mark Richt. I remember that was like year after year, and it just never happened. But it's happening now. It happened last year. I mean, they're good to go.
Yeah.
Carson Beck should have no problem throwing for 300 or 400 yards a game if he wants to.
Yeah.
He should be easy.
Killer offensive line, killer receivers, questionable quarterback. We'll see what Beck can do. We're big on him, but of course we're all Georgia fans.
I'm not even questioning Beck. I think the only real question is the play call.
Yeah, what's he going to do?
What's Bobo going to do?
Yeah.
I think that's my only question mark. Is Bobo going to make the right play call?
You got to think, though. I'm sure there's ego with all that, but you got to think he watched Monken do it. Okay, so I mean, and yes, it was Stetson Bennett. I get it, but still,
I feel like he studied Monken a little bit. I mean, I
would like to think so. If I was a Georgia fan, that's what I would like to think that's what happened.
Right.
But we'll see, man. We'll see. So, and then we go to. I just want to throw up in my mouth. The best defense in the nation. They're going to be the best in the nation. 7 starters back. They get 8 of their top 11 tacklers back. Listen to this, guys. 15 points a game last year, 3rd in the nation. 300 yards a game, 10th in the nation. 81 rushing yards, number 1 in the nation. 227 yards passing, number 61. And that's kind of an inflated stat because the teams would be down and there wasn't no use for them to run the ball, so they were throwing all over the place. That's what happened in the SEC championship game against LSU. Daniels got hurt. They were already getting the hell beat out of him. Nessmeyer comes in there, and we're going to chunk the ball every 30 or 40 yards a shot. So
yeah,
that's a little inflated. But listen, has only allowed 12.2 points a game in the last 2 seasons. 20 offensive touchdowns in the last 2 regular season games. Lost 5 dudes to the NFL draft. 14 overall in the last 2 seasons. And they're going to have the best defense in the nation this year.
And people are saying this is the best one out of the last 3 years. That's the rumor. These guys are going to kill it. Stackhouse is going to wreak havoc. Williams wreaking havoc. I mean, Dumas Johnson, it's going to be disgusting what they're going to do to UT Martin and Ball State. I almost feel bad for those guys.
I mean, the linebackers, Mondon. I mean, it's just a embarrassment of riches, man.
I'll tell you, one of my favorite players, Javon Bullard coming back.
Yeah.
He's going to be a junior this year. Physical, small, not a big guy, but just physical. Kind of reminds me of the Honey Badger, like that.
Oh yeah.
Kind of reminds me of Tyrann Mathieu. Just always at the fucking ball. I mean, that guy's just he just sniffs it out.
Someone's
He's
got
always
a
in the
knack
play.
for it,
Hey, probably the reason we beat Ohio State when he put Marvin Harrison Jr. on bed rest for the rest of that game.
Yeah.
In the back of the end zone.
Yeah.
That was Bullard. And he's a hitter. And I fucking love it. I love his physicality. I love the mentality that he appears to play with. I'm just a fan. I'm a fan of that guy.
I mean, They got this freshman at linebacker that everybody's just going crazy. Raylan Wilson. He's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just over and over and over. I mean, it's terrible.
We did lose old Big Bear Alexander to USC.
You didn't lose nothing.
Yeah.
Well, listen, he was a player. Now, I hate to say it, but he was good when he was in there, but he was a fucking problem. He was a cancer to the locker room, just a bad attitude.
We didn't even talk about Malachi Starks.
Well, I'm getting there.
Yeah.
Sophomore.
I was about to jump in on that secondary. Yeah. We lose Ringo and Chris Smith, not the Chris Smith on the podcast here, but the other Chris Smith to the Raiders. And the secondary might be better this year than they were last year. You got Malachi Starks, Javon Bullard, Tyke Smith, who's next level. Kamari Lassiter is the new top corner. You get Smoke Bowie from Texas A&M. There's another great name.
Smoke Bowie.
And then you got sophomore Everett, who's likely to take over for Ringo. So
I mean, you learned early last year, Malachi Starks as a freshman We learned early that we didn't even hear his name that much after those first few weeks because nobody threw at him.
Nobody threw at him.
You know, he had what I call the Dion effect when they just put him on one side of the field and everybody just avoids him.
Hey, it reminds me of Cooper Nunley last Friday at the Strong Rock game.
Yeah.
He showed out in the first half, and guess what?
They didn't even come after
They
him.
didn't come after him in the
Good
second
old
half.
Cooper. But little shout out to the Nunleys. So, but yeah, no, Malachi Starks is a player. I tell you, it's sad when Keely Ringo, who was a 5-star, number 1 cornerback in the country, comes in, and you don't have any choice but to throw at him the whole game because you don't want to go to the other side of the field. Right?
You're right.
I mean, that's what happened, you know.
You know, listen, the only thing I can say about last year's defense is they didn't get to the quarterback enough. Now, whether or not they needed to or had to, that's up for debate or whatever. But I really believe that, and I've heard that Kirby has put his fingers on this defense, and they will be getting to the quarterback this year.
All right, so we've homered our way through Georgia as best we can. Let's go through this win-loss total here. What you guys seeing?
Listen, I mean, I can't sit here and tell you to bet that they're going to go undefeated, but I damn sure can't tell you to bet that they're not going to.
They're double-digit favored in every
They're
game.
double-digit favorites in every game. So the bus is going to have to not arrive at the game, and they're going to have to forfeit, or half the team has COVID or whatever the hell they call it now, or something, for them not to realistically go 12-0 again. Now, I didn't make that bet. I probably will. I probably will eventually if I get good plus 115, just some pizza money on it. But I did bet them to win the national championship at plus 230, and it was a numbers grab simply because it ain't going to be plus 230 at the end of the year. You see what I'm saying? They're going to be, if they go undefeated, they're going to be like minus 110 or minus 220 or something, you know, something like that.
Right.
So I went ahead and grabbed that. I know Josh is locked in.
Yeah, I got a bet with my boy Cole Hendrickson from Arkansas. We talked about them a little bit last week, but I've got every team in college football except Georgia to win the national championship, and I get paid $500. So
Hold on, you bet against Georgia?
I did, yeah, because I get every single team besides Georgia. But then I went and hedged
odds.
I went and hedged my bet down at the Bow about a month ago. So I'm coming out a winner either way.
So here's my after this shitbag schedule.
Oh, you got Florida beating Georgia?
Not a chance.
Oh, okay.
Not a fucking chance.
I thought you was really about to give us a hot take.
No. All right,
wow.
Tony, you got South Carolina beating Georgia?
No.
Let me ask you this. Coming from the East or the West, who you got, LSU or Alabama?
LSU.
Texas A&M.
Really?
I told y'all I'm higher on them than I am. So
So we got two LSUs and an A&M, and I got
Hold on. You got 0 for Alabama is what we just heard.
No, I got Alabama.
All right, there we go.
So I got Alabama. We got two LSUs and an A&M. That's our picks coming out of the West.
if
right?
Jimbo will leave Bobby Petrino alone, just leave him alone. If he don't, then I'm gonna change mine to LSU.
You told us last week he was going to come out and quit at the.
He might quit at halftime when they go to Miami.
Get on his motorcycle with a little intern and take off.
and ride out to the sunset. Do we all agree we got Georgia coming out of the East? Does anybody else have any other?
Yeah, Georgia out of the East, 100%.
I mean, you hate to say. Jeff don't even want to say it out loud. Look at his face. All right, so you got Georgia versus you got LSU, you got to A&M, and I got Alabama.
They'll be double-digit favorites over A&M.
Yep.
They'll be probably 8 to 10 points favorites over LSU, and they'll probably be
5
maybe
Alabama.
Just
3 to
depending
5.
on
Alabama gets there.
if Alabama's healthy how they look. So
I'm worried about that game because they're not going to have anybody test them this year.
that's a problem. That could be a problem.
That I can see, unless we have a couple of those tests, like those surprise tests, like Missouri last year,
Or Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech. I don't think Tennessee's going to be a problem. So I think that SEC championship game, I think that game can be a problem.
Yeah.
I don't know who's going to be in it yet, but if Georgia makes it as an undefeated team, I think that SEC championship game could be a problem.
The good news is for us is that we could, if conceivably, be 12-0, lose the SEC championship, and still back our way into the playoff like we did a couple years ago. So
that's a good question. So we've previewed pretty much every major conference here over the last 3 weeks. All the shows are out there. You guys tell me Who's the 4 playoff teams here?
Man. All right, I'll start. I don't know who the 4 playoff teams are. I'll tell you that. Well, I'll tell you this. My opinion is there's only 4 teams in the nation that can win the national championship. Well, maybe 5, actually. LSU, Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State. I don't think out of those 5 schools anybody else has got a shot. That's my opinion.
You don't like Clemson?
No. I think Clemson is good. I think they'll probably go undefeated. I think they'll probably win the ACC. But, yeah, I don't see them winning the national championship once they got to match up against Ohio State, Michigan, Bama, LSU, or Georgia. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, definitely you can write in ink, carve stone, whatever. Georgia's in the playoff. That's happening.
Even if they lose a close SEC game after an undefeated season, they're going to be in.
And I think Michigan runs the table, so I think they're in. I think Clemson runs the table, so I think they're in.
So you have them beating Florida State?
Yes.
Okay.
On September 23rd.
Must see TV?
Yes. They're beating Florida State.
Oh, yeah, we've talked about that. We got Clemson. I got Clemson rolling Florida. I said by double digits.
Yeah. Florida State plays LSU next Saturday or next Sunday, right? Yeah, that's what it is. But, yeah, so I got Michigan, Georgia, Clemson, and
Texas A&M.
But the problem is with Texas A&M, they can win the West and not be undefeated.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. You know what? I'm going to say Texas.
Texas was on my Texas. I've been debating between the team that I chose and Texas, and I'll tell you why. Me and you are on the same page. I got Clemson. going undefeated, win ACC, going to the Final Four. I got Michigan running the table. I got Georgia running the table. I think that I had Texas on my radar, but I feel like USC is going to put a little bit of a defense together, and Caleb Williams is Caleb Williams. So I got USC as my 4th team. And I think that the media, the TV, all the money that controls the behind the scenes, I think they want USC and somebody from the West Coast in that Final Four.
But, the reason why I chose Texas is because the Big 12 is terrible.
Terrible.
Okay?
Yeah, but so if Texas has a great year and USC has a great year, they're going to pick USC over Texas.
Yeah, okay, but the thing with USC, and they're going to have a great year, and they're going to have a defense because they got to play Washington, they got to play Oregon, got to play Utah, got to play Oregon State. They get UCLA, and that's always a.
But if Utah comes out and Cam Rising doesn't play for a few weeks, and they take a loss or two early, they can still beat USC, and USC be a 1-loss team.
Yeah.
Still make it. Hypothetically.
Hypothetically.
You got that Alabama-Texas game that's going to play into all that as well.
Well, I haven't heard from any of you guys. I haven't heard Ohio State. They're always there at the end. I know we've got some quarterback questions. I haven't heard LSU. I think LSU is going to be strong this year.
I don't think they put 2 Big Ten teams in again.
Ohio State, I think they lose 2 games. But
Right. So the question is, Michigan or LSU? I'm sorry, Michigan or Ohio State?
Michigan.
Michigan.
Alabama or LSU?
Texas A&M.
I love it. Hey, I love it. I love
Joker
This is
Jimbo.
good. This is good.
I love
right?
it.
All
Yep.
right. So I got Georgia, LSU, Michigan. Yeah, I don't know who the 4th is.
Clemson. It's got to be Clemson.
Yeah.
Gotta be
Clemson.
Yeah.
Listen, we might all be wrong, or Chris and Josh, I think you think Clemson's going to run the table too. We might be wrong.
If I had to pick 4, I'd go Clemson, Michigan, Georgia, and LSU.
And if Georgia plays any of these teams we just talked about in the national championship and they do what we think they're going to do this year, they'll probably be a double-digit favorite over. It really depends on Michigan's the one, okay? Michigan's the one that's probably put together the best.
Yep.
To handle Georgia
If
because
they can just stop shitting the bed.
Well,
they got to
that's the
stop
problem.
fucking shitting the bed in the playoffs. But
Yeah.
you got to get McCarthy coming out. He's a senior. He's got to make the plays. The game was put on his shoulders last year. He throws 2 picks against TCU. He fumbles the bag.
and the defense was god awful.
The defense didn't even have to play that great. If he doesn't throw those 2 picks, they win that game.
And look, the big downfall for Michigan is going to be, do they have enough weapons outside of the 2 running backs? The receivers are not. They wouldn't be number 1s on any team that they went to. It might not even be number 2s. So, that's a question. And if you go in to play Georgia and you can't do anything but be one-dimensional, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And, that applies the same thing if they go play Ohio State and, Ohio State's throwing the ball down the field. But Ohio State ain't even named a quarterback yet. So, that's a whole nother ball of wax.
You know what, guys? This has been great. I'm excited. College football's back. This is good stuff.
Hey, 2 days and a wake up. Notre Dame and Navy, 2:30 Saturday afternoon.
Dublin, Ireland. All right, guys, let's jump right into our Stay in the Truck Awards for this week. Josh, what you got, bro?
So I'm gonna parlay and play off the Georgia football team that we just finished up with. My Stay in the Truck Award this week goes to all of the Georgia running backs, and not necessarily because they've screwed up, although they have screwed up by getting injured, but because they just need to stay in the truck, not to get injured anymore. Like we said, Branson Robinson ruptured his patella tendon; he's out for the year. DeJuan Edwards has got an MCL sprain. Kendall Milton's dealing with hamstring issues. So please, guys, as a Georgia fan and alumni, stay in the truck so we can have some depth at running back and run it back one more again.
Stay in the truck. My Stay in the Truck Award this week goes to Urban Meyer. So Urban Meyer on his podcast this week called out Georgia and Michigan for their weak schedules. Even though the SEC made Georgia cancel their Oklahoma game this year, and Georgia's got a tough schedule next year, Urban still thought it would be important to throw them under the bus. Even though at Florida and Ohio State University, Urban played 3 ranked teams out of conference play while he was there. So not really sure why he feels importance for throwing these guys under the bus for strength of schedule. Urban Meyer, stay in the truck.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that Georgia, Tony, in your defense or your hatred of Urban Meyer there, Georgia also had a weak schedule last year and ended up at the end of the year with the most difficult schedule in the nation. So we make it to the playoffs, it'll all work itself out, and all these haters can go by the wayside. So,
I mean, a lot of these schedules are planned out years in advance, right?
yes.
So I don't think they really just pick and choose. Oh, we're going to have a really shitty schedule this year, whatever.
Right. And like you said, we did have Oklahoma scheduled till they came over to the SEC.
Yeah.
So stay in the truck, Urban Meyer.
My Stay in the Truck Award is going to go to the geniuses that run the San Francisco 49er franchise. Today, Mike Shanahan has announced that Brock Purdy is the starting quarterback, and his number 2 quarterback is going to be none other than Sam Darnold. So the guy that they traded all those picks for 2 years ago in the draft, who is entering his 3rd year in the NFL,
Trey
Lance is not even going to might not even be on the team.
He
by the
didn't
time
even
this
show
is
up
said and
for
done.
practice today.
Let me just run through this list of the guys that got drafted after Trey Lance in that same draft. Let's talk about who they could have had. Maybe Jamar Chase.
Not bad.
How about Kyle Pitts? He's decent. Penny Sewell, Patrick Surtain, Micah Parsons, Rashawn Slater, Mac Jones, or anybody that is actually playing in the NFL.
Well, the whole rumor the whole time that was going on is Shanahan wanted Mac Jones, and John Lynch and whoever the owner is up there didn't want Mac Jones. Now, whether or not that was true or not, but that was like what the big thing was. Like Vegas was even convinced that Mac Jones was going to be the pick there. And they took Trey Lance.
And they traded up
to get him. That's why,
traded
especially
up
when
for
they did
Trey
all the
Lance.
trading, they thought for sure it's going to be Mac Jones.
For sure. It's got to be, right? No. Trey Lance, trade superstar. One team gave up more for you to do nothing than anybody else. So San Francisco, John Lynch and the 49ers, stay in the truck.
Yeah.
Stay in the truck.
My stay in the truck, and this pains me to say it because I am a New York Yankees fan, but the New York Yankees in 2023 are 61-65, 17 games out of first place.
And I believe they're on like a 0-8 skid right now, right?
They got a 1-game winning streak. So, got a 1-game winning streak. The last time the Yankees were this bad, and I'm not exactly sure 100% about this, but I think Aaron Boone was in Double-A. They called up Derek Jeter. This was like 91 or something like that, 92 or whatever. But for them to be 17 games out of first place, the New York Yankees, they're going to miss the playoffs. Aaron Judge is sitting there. All that talent's wasted. He's the only one in the lineup that can even hit, period. It's terrible. They play 1- and 2-run games all the time. I'm sitting here looking at their last couple of games. They beat the Nationals today 9-1. That's fine. They got Garrett Cole, who's probably going to win the Cy Young. He's probably going to win the Cy Young. But look, they lost to the Nationals last night 2-1. They lost to the Red Sox 6-5. They lost to the Red Sox 9-1. They lost to the Red Sox 8-3. Got swept by the Braves 2-0, 5-0, 11-3, 8-7. Lost to the Marlins 3-1. Beat the Marlins 9-4. Lost to the White Sox 9-2. I mean, that's not the Yankees. Like, that's not supposed to happen.
2-3 runs a game. That's all they're getting.
It's terrible. So, Brian Cashman, stay in the truck. Little Steinbrenner, stay in the truck.
Stay in the truck.
New York Yankees, stay in the truck.
Yep.
That's it for this week's show. We really appreciate you tuning in. Please remember to like, subscribe, and leave us some comments. Let us know how we're doing. Stay in the truck.